Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fandom Empire Podcast, broadcasting to you, at least momentarily. It's Tuesday night, just before 9 p.m. Eastern. Joining me, man, myth, legend, hater of all things Star Wars, Tommy B. What's going on, man?
How am I the hater of all things Star Wars if I got various Star Wars merch and memorabilia? Not memorabilia, I don't have none original, but, floating around. How am I the hater?
Oh, was there static? I'm just seeing your thing now. Was there static?
There was, but it went away.
How long did that last for?
A few moments.
Huh, should have been music, not static.
It was before we went live.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You're the hater. Don't be starting that with me.
I've been guilty of that before.
I am a hater of some things. One of them currently being the CW.
Yeah. That's a whole other bag of worms to dive into, and it is our lead topic to begin tonight. But before we get into that topic, our multiple choice question for this video is, will Michael Myers, the serial killer, that Michael Myers, not the comedian Mike Myers, because that'd be kind of weird if he was in the movie. Will Michael Myers be in the next Halloween movie? A simple yes or no down in the comment section below, and let us know your thoughts there. I'm not expecting a great turnout today. We did not have anything advertised until recently. And honestly, how long this goes is going to depend completely on two things. One, how I feel, which is not very good at the moment. And two, my internet, which is not good either. But Tommy led to it off the top. First off, Mr. Tommy B. How you doing, man? You doing good?
I am doing all right, just hanging in there, taking it all day by day. No, there was no way that's your background. oh God.
What's that supposed to mean?
A piano.
Hey now, I love pianos.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. How much can you play on the piano?
Oh my God. I'm looking at oh boy. Nothing. I don't know how to play the piano at all.
So you would have a piano in your house just as a prop?
For sure. Yeah. I can play the guitar a little, not very much, but I'm not saying I could just pick up the piano and, away I go. I'm going to be fucking Axl Rose or Elton John or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not Kieran. I'm sure he thinks he can do that, but that's a story for another day. Speaking of said Kieran, he will be joining us for our chair shot chatter portion of the show a little bit later on. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to talk AEW Collision and AEW Forbidden Door and ticket sales and all that good stuff. But out of the gate, the Winchesters has been canceled by the CW. And on top of that, they have failed to find a new home. Now, some people are obviously up in arms. Why didn't Prime pick it up? Prime just signed the deal with Jensen and Danelle. And there's various reasons why Prime might not have picked it up. And we're going to speak about the big one here momentarily. That being said, I'm bummed, man. Like, I have only seen, I think, 4 or 5 episodes of that show still. It's just, it's been on the to-do list. And I have been unable to find time to, get through it all. So But yeah, it's not heading to another network for now, and at least for now, the show is done, and some people might say, Supernatural, the franchise, is done. I would not go that far. I will echo Jensen Ackles' sentiments from this past weekend. I wouldn't go that far. So there's been a lot of talk over the last several months about the possibility of a supernatural revival. Hell, the last couple of years, I think with the cancellation and the failed pickup of the Winchesters, that becomes far more plausible. And it might even become a multi-purpose tool instead of just being a straight Sam and Dean revival. Tommy, your thoughts on the Winchesters not finding a new home, which obviously is not the news we wanted. It's not the news I wanted. But there's a lot of discussion out there that Supernatural is not done, and that Jensen and Jared are probably not far off of donning the attires of Dean and Sam once again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious with where they're going to go from here because I want to say they did a good job containing the story, but they didn't. Where they ended does not make sense flowing into the first season of Supernatural. It does not make sense as things stand now. They need to course correct that somehow if they want this franchise to have a future. I don't know how they'll do it. There are a few ways we could guess, but I'm not going to spoil it all for you, although some of it's already been spoiled for you. It's extremely disappointing. But we saw that with the the Wayward Sisters when that failed to pick up its own series. They went back and they kind of tied up those loose ends. So
yeah, which is kind of exactly what I'm expecting here, is those that might have become more of fans of the Winchesters. Maybe they weren't that big into Supernatural, but the Winchesters hooked them in. I think that story will continue.
is that really a demographic here?
I don't know. Like it's so hard to
I
tell
would be
now, right?
surprised, like legitimately, if that was an actual demographic. Like if they just turned this random show on, enjoyed it, I'm sure they found out, oh, Supernatural, and then they went and watched Supernatural at this point.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I do think a Supernatural revival is coming. I don't know how immediate it is, but I suspect it would continue the story from the Winchesters, at least in part, but maybe
Somehow they
focus
have to.
more on, okay, so Dean went back and Sam, we believe, is missing. I think that was the gist of it, Tommy. Yes, no, don't get into details because I haven't seen it, but I think that's the gist of it. Dean's on a mission.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so I think you just tell the story from Dean's perspective. Now, for it to be Supernatural, you have to have Jared Padalecki involved, and probably involved in every episode. So wherever Sam is and whatever he's doing, I think you need to also follow that story as well. And then you tie in the characters from the Winchesters, kind of like they did with the duo episodes in season 4 when you get young John and young Mary. I'm not saying the characters from this new show are gonna be front and center, because let's be honest, they won't be. But there is a way, at least in the short term, to help finish their story. And it's just gonna have to be on the on the backs of Sam and Dean, more than likely. Do you disagree with any of that, or?
Not really. That's what people want to see happen, essentially. The Winchesters certainly didn't do as well as Supernatural, but it did. Some episodes did draw a crowd, if I recall correctly. We're a bit removed from it at this point. But seeing Sam and Dean come back, I think would definitely pull the numbers back, pull back some legacy Supernatural fans, if we want to call it that.
There's Tommy clamoring for us to start another channel again, so we don't have enough.
Yeah, that's not happening.
If I knew for sure, like if we had sources to confirm that not only Supernatural was coming back, but it wasn't going to be like this, 8-episode limited series one and done thing, but like Supernatural was legitimately coming back, I'd look into something like that. But until that happens, no, it'll just be a subsection of Fandom Empire. I'm torn now, man, because I've wanted to finish the Winchesters for a while. And now that I know there's not a season 2, at least no time soon. And keep in mind, there's other variable things here. It's not as simple as every network just said no, and that was it. Jensen and Danelle and Robbie Thompson, everybody running the show there, would have had a number. This is the number we need to make this show work. There's probably your wants, the likely one, and then like the bare minimum. And my guess is the only thing that they could get offered is something below the bare minimum. And they said no. I truly believe that. A lot of people look at these situations as just black and white, and it's just not that simple. It's like most entertainment, many shades of gray. Jensen said it himself when discussing the writer's strike. It's like, hey, we launched in the pandemic more or less, and then had a writer's strike, and it didn't help things. So I don't think that we have seen the last of Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki playing Sam and Dean. I would bet everything I have on that. I'm that confident. I know other people aren't. Tommy, where are you with that? Are you convinced for sure? Place a big wager, you're so confident that Jensen and Jared will once again play Sam and Dean at some point.
Well, I'm not a bettor because I think gambling is stupid. But
what's going on, Linton? 1 second here, Tommy. Roll call here quickly. Linton, Jesse, Jade, Archie, DJ, Talking Star Wars, and some Tommy guy. Again, apologies for anybody watching after the fact. We had no advertisement for this out earlier. It's been just a crazy, hectic 5 or 6 days, and here we are. So, again, yeah, Tommy, would you bet? I know you're not a betting man, but will they play the roles again?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It may be a few years, but I'm sure it'll happen. At minimum, the interest is totally there.
I think some people might argue, is it? Because of the way the Winchesters end, they were already teasing, hey, you're going to get more of the people you know. So I don't know. I'm hopeful, but you just never know with these things, right? It can go either way. It can turn on a dime. But I do think they'll be back, and I don't think it'll be imminent. I don't, but I could see. Well, I mean, the writer's strike throws a big, twist into things because we don't know how long it's going to last. However, I believe Supernatural. When did Supernatural debut? 2005 or 2004? I don't know if you can look that up for me, Tommy. It's one of those 2 years, definitely. I think it's 2005, but I'm not sure.
September 2005.
Okay, so I mean, you
That was a
already have
good
the
year.
window lined up. 2025, 20-year anniversary of Supernatural debuting. I would literally, if you're a fellow content creator, go start making your Supernatural 2025 videos, because whether it happens or not, it's going to be speculated on. It's a big one. 20 years, 25 years, 50 years. They're 30 years, even 40 years. They're all big ones. But I'm not saying, hey, they're going to be back full-time 10-episode seasons every year going forward. But at the very least, I could see a mini series being in 2025. It just makes a lot of sense, Jade says, I think they should do a reboot of Supernatural. Excuse me. Continuation of the Winchesters, and have legacy Supernatural actors play different characters, like Jensen playing. Oh, no. None of this American Horror Story stuff. No, hang on. Where's my button? I don't think I've ever given her the button, but she's getting it. No. So yeah, I mean, sorry, pardon me. I think at the end of the day, Supernatural is going to be back. I mean, they're literally already rumors. Go onto Twitter from fairly reputable places. But until something happens, you just don't know. But my guess is most people, even if you're a Prime, if you're interested in doing something with the Supernatural universe, you probably want Jared and Jensen involved in every episode, not we're going to pop up once every 10 to 13 episodes. They are the brand. You can say what you want about any other character, Bobby, John, Lucifer, you name it, Jack. I don't know if I still have Tommy, if he's super still. Oh no, he's still there. But Sam and Dean are Supernatural. So for me, it just makes all the sense in the world to go back to them. That being said, Jensen might be a little busy. There's a new Batman film coming in James Gunn's universe. And guess who one of the names is linked to playing Batman? Mr. Jensen Ackles himself. So,
well, he's voiced him already,
right? And I've seen the cosplay he's done of him. It's good. And I believe, I forget the title of it, but it's basically going to be a Batman movie based around, and separate from the patents and stuff, Batman and his son Damian, who eventually becomes Robin. And we've never had that in live action. We've never had Bruce Wayne as a father in live action, to my knowledge. So just having that dynamic is offering the audience something new that we haven't gotten, not just in recent memory, but period. So if Jensen gets that role, not saying he will, but if he does, Supernatural goes on the back burner. That's just the way it works.
I'm trying to remember Damien. What's the origin of that character? Is it comic books?
It's
I've seen a web comic series out there, like the Bat Family.
Comics. It's Talia al Ghul, aka Ra's al Ghul. It's daughter. It's his daughter's son, and it's Bruce Wayne's son. So, the League of Shadows, if you will. All right, let's. I don't know. You have anything else you want to add on Supernatural, man? Before we move on, I know I'm blurring in here, people. We're working.
It's frustrating, but it is what it is. We could talk for hours and hours about this topic, but
I think once I finally see the rest of the season, we'll be able to have a more open spoiler discussion on what happened and where it could have gone. I hate it for Tom Welling too, because from what I understand, he was pretty liked in that role. I seen a lot of positive reviews about him as Sam. So there you have it. Let's shift gears here. Our multiple choice question for this video, as we said at the beginning, will Michael Myers, again, the serial killer, not the comedian, will Michael Myers be in the next Halloween movie? Comment down below. I know some people might be like, well, what kind of stupid question is that? But believe it or not, I don't think it's a given. And I know that's going to upset some people. And it's not meant to. It really isn't. I think he will be. But there is a world where the next Halloween movie might not be a Michael Myers movie. And, that could go various ways. I think all of us have an idea how it might go. But yeah. Tommy B, in your opinion, is there any chance whatsoever that the next Halloween movie, is there any chance that the wonderful people over at Trancas, aka Malacca Cad, would be crazy enough to greenlight a Halloween movie, let's just say 2025, without Michael Myers?
Define Michael Myers.
Michael Myers does not appear in the movie in any way other than maybe the same way he appears in Halloween 3, and that's a TV commercial, which lets you know it's basically in another universe.
Do we get a Michael Myers style mask?
No. So it's not a copycat either, just Michael Myers
Then
style.
no. Then no.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Here's my prediction. There will absolutely be another Halloween project from Trancas that does not feature Michael Myers. I 100% believe that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a theatrical feature. It might be a straight to VOD thing. It might be an anthology series where every episode's a new story. And some of those episodes might not have Michael, which I still think is the biggest and best streaming idea they could do at this point. But I personally believe that the next Halloween movie is not only going to feature Michael Myers, but that the next Halloween movie will be a fresh start, not featuring any characters that we're familiar with other than Michael Myers. Now, I don't know what that means for his origin. I don't know what that means for the story. I have no idea. But I do believe the next Halloween movie that we're going to get is not going to be a remake. Some might call it a reboot, but rather Michael Myers doing Michael Myers things with a new set of characters. And I'll go one step further and say, I think it'll be a different take on the character than we've ever gotten before. And I think the setting will be different than we've ever gotten before. I think if you can change up the presentation of the character a little bit. Now, I'm not saying have him go in a completely different mask and ditch Michael's look or anything like that. I just mean the way he comes across on screen. But I think that's probably a safe bet. And I think just having a different visual component will help, meaning it taking place in a different area. I don't think the next Halloween movie has to take place in Haddonfield. I don't think it needs to take place in Illinois. I don't. One of the best things about Scream 6, albeit not shot in New York, is that different setting, because it doesn't feel like any any Scream movie we've ever gotten before. Now, I'm not saying, hey, just go do Michael in New York, because it's been overdone. But I do think it'll be different. That is my prediction. Tommy, if you had to give your best guess on what the next Halloween movie will consist of, what would it be?
It's a good question. I think we are due for another direct sequel to 78. Yeah,
Are you going to go back to let's do a sequel to the original, but nothing else counts?
Yeah, like, it need not be like the same night, or it need not be it could be another major time jump is what I'm saying. I have a little bit of a hard time believing they're going to attempt to continue directly after this trilogy. It could happen, the most recent films, but what I think is more likely is, yeah, you're going to see something just reference the original movie, and then they'll continue. Yeah, and they'll just say, "Oh, well, this is another timeline," and that'd be that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
The one thing I would sign off on is a Halloween period piece, where instead of just getting a 10-minute flashback, let's go back and do a whole movie in 1980 or something, or 1982, or something in the early 80s, and give us that early 80s aesthetic and soundtrack, even that score, that feels that 80s slasher feel, but done in modern day. Keep it cheap, and like I think that would be like, I do think the fan base would be over the moon about that, as long as it didn't come across too cheesy. What's your take on that?
You're asking me if I thought it was cheesy or not cheesy.
No, I'm just saying, would you get on board for a period piece where they go back and do an entire Halloween movie set in the early 80s? No cell phones, no modern vehicles.
I was just having a conversation with coworkers about this kind of stuff yesterday. We talk about how sometimes they accidentally have like watches and coffee cups and stuff in frames when they shouldn't. It would definitely be interesting. I'd be down for checking it out. I don't see anything wrong with it.
The question is, what do you, the audience, think the next Halloween movie will be? Where should it take place? Comment down in the comment section below and share your thoughts there. Hey, I would love to see Jamie Lloyd's story continue. I've said it a bunch of times. How realistic do I think it is? Not very. In fact, I think it's probably more realistic Danielle Harris returns and plays a whole different role. I don't think that would be smart. I think that alone will get backlash from the fans. But just in terms of likelihood, that's the way I could see it going. For me, though, give me a period piece, all new characters, Michael Myers set in the 80s, and I'm there opening night. And man, let Flanagan go do it. Then I'm really there. Then I'll just forget David Gordon Green ever did a trilogy. You know, give me Mike Flanagan's take on Halloween. I'd sign up for that. Have you seen a Flanagan flick yet, Tommy? You know if you have or not?
No idea.
Dr. Sleep. Have Midnight Mass, the series? You watched that? Yeah, I think you'd be on. I think you'd like that.
I don't know if I watched Midnight Mass or not.
Might be able to create some content around that one. Midnight Mass is a short watch. Don't know if anybody in the chat, did you guys see Midnight Mass? I really, really enjoyed Midnight Mass. Jesse loves Dr. Sleep. man, that director's cut of Doctor Sleep, chef's kiss, man, chef's kiss. And if anybody missed them off the top, big shout out to our 4 sponsors of this channel. Mr. Christie _78. You need a Myers mask Rehauls. He's the guy to go to. Jason's Backtrack Cinema. I believe he's doing, and Jason's in the chat right now, so he can correct me if I have this wrong. But I think he's doing his top 50 80s movies. Now, I don't know if it's genre based or just all of the 80s. If it's all the 80s, bro, my God, I can only imagine the task. We can't forget about our buddy Jesse, who has launched his own YouTube channel, Storytime Spectacular, youtube.com/Storytime Spectacular, and Mr. Matt Whitfield, host of the Fandom Unplugged Patreon podcast. Big thanks to you all. Without you, there's just the content wouldn't be here as often. So thank you for everything you guys do. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's throw Tommy a ball here. Tommy has seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Is that still the title of the film, or did they retitle it? Is it Across the Spider-Verse?
I don't know about the Part 1. That's new to me. Like,
I don't even
know. Okay, so we're gonna go into very, very light spoilers here. Just gonna.
So warning: if you don't want anything spoiled for this film, now's the time to get out of here. But as far as I'm concerned, Tommy has the next few minutes to dive into his experience around the movie and if he's looking forward to the sequel or not.
Yeah, so the film was fantastic. I'm just going to throw that out there. The wife and I got breakfast the morning of, and after that we went around the corner to our preferred local theater, and we even did bathroom break beforehand, and the movie's 2.5 hours. We were both we had to go. We both had to go. She went I'd say 10 minutes or so for the last scene. I went like at the last scene, like I'm watching the last scene on the way out the theater. Then I run to the bathroom. A minute later, she texts me, it's done. And it ends in to be continued in a rather abrupt way. I'm a little surprised on that, but I have been told that it was reported that was going to happen. I'm not certain on that. What I do feel like in some way or another that I did hear before seeing the film is that I feel like I had heard of the title for the third film in this series of films coming out, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse. I'm pretty sure that was announced previously. Like maybe they announced it at the same time as they announced Across the Spider-Verse. You could say this is part 1 of a story, but they're not calling that film Across the Spider-Verse. Unless it's like Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I doubt. Regardless on that, without going out of my way to Google this, I can just very much say it's a great movie. If you have the means to get out and see this, you should really see this in theaters. The animated movies don't do it for everybody. I've heard it recently from a few people. This is one to see. If you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, the first of these now 2 films, catch that one. Go find it streaming somewhere. Run it, whatever, and then go see Across the Spider-Verse. Great films. Can't recommend it enough. And so I've said that's enough of that for now, Sean. I'm not going to go into a whole review of the movie. I'm just going to say it's a great movie and folks need to see it.
Next Gen Studios, what's going on, man? Spider-Verse was effing amazing. Why are we censoring? We don't censor here, do we? Spider-Verse was fucking amazing. Or maybe he meant to say fan-fucking-tastic. I was in awe, he says. Yeah. I've heard nothing but really positive things about this movie. So whenever I do get to see it, I'm looking forward to it. Wasn't the biggest fan of the animation style in the first movie, but I don't dislike the first movie at all. I thought it was a very enjoyable experience. It's not my favorite Spider-Man movie by any means, but it was worth the price of admission, and it was done really well. And I hear this one's even better. I believe Tommy told me after he saw it, big step up on this one. So looking forward to eventually checking it out. Justin Smith, got some wrestling talk coming your way not too long from now, sir. We're going to be talking AEW Collision, Fight Forever, Forbidden Door, ticket sales, and all that other nonsense in about 12 minutes time or so. And that will be our chair shot chatter portion of the show. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I think Spider-Verse is, or Across the Spider-Verse is going to be good. Most people seem to think it's good. I too am shocked the Flash got to a point where it still ended up getting released. I think for a while there it was looking dicey. And I think next week we'll probably have to dive into Johnny Depp's potential return as Jack Sparrow in another Pirates movie. That's been gaining traction the last couple of days. Disney said they were non-committal when asked about Johnny Depp, and I think the truth is they very much need him back, and their actions might have been a little premature prior. So, but everybody has their own side to take on that stuff, and we'll leave that for you and everybody else to decide. Tommy, really quick here, we can't spend too much time on this. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, whatever you want to call it. It's about a month ago. I got to sit down with my oldest guy, and we watched Dragon Ball Superhero. Yes, that is the title of the movie. Tongue twister. Gohan Piccolo-centric movie, which I loved. But what is next for this franchise, man? Are they just going to keep pumping out a movie every 2 or 3 years? Because frankly, the last two have done very, very well at the North American box office, which I don't think they were expecting. But they've done very, very well. And I know the plan was for them to go back and do more Dragon Ball Super, but all seems to be quiet on that front. I know the manga continued and it got away from the tournament stuff and actually got into some like world conflicts and galactic conflicts where, people are fighting for their lives and their team. It's classic Dragon Ball Z stuff almost. And I'm dying to see that. I just question if we're ever going to get it, because if they're making the kind of money that they've been making on these movies, something tells me they might be staying the movie route. What do you think, man?
I just realized I got a couple bucks of Amazon credit to go get rid of. Maybe I'll go do another watch through of this movie. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This movie, I mostly only ended up going and catching because I needed to kill some time one day. I had to take a day off for like a dentist appointment type of thing. I went and got a cheap movie ticket, sat in the theater by myself, saw it. Awesome experience. Great use of a few bucks. Probably my favorite Dragon Ball movie of all time. Potentially, it's up there for anime movies in general. It's so good. As for the state of the Dragon Ball franchise and what's coming next and all, I'm not a bettor. I'm fairly certain the manga has continued, that it picked back up and that they've done some more. So they have source material, if I recall correctly, that they could continue with. It's just they need to decide to sit down and get back to working on it. This shift to movies is not unprecedented. You've seen that with different anime franchises. Either they're going to make the movies and then make episodes of it later, or they're going to just make movies to tell their stories. movies make more money than TV. That's it's just the way it is. So it's no big surprise if that's an outlet that your creators want to focus on. I'd say there's a good chance we're going to see some more movies. Fans have definitely been wanting to see more Dragon Ball Super. I sincerely hope we see more Dragon Ball Super, like as a series. At this point, I just don't know.
The manga did continue. That's what I was referring to. Is they got into this big galactic conflict with this like Tauros looking, bull looking guy who people kind of compared to like perfect form Cell a bit. And apparently it ran for quite some time. Like if they go and do it, it will be their longest storyline they've done yet. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So I'm going to have to do some digging into that and see what we can find out. Yes, The Flash is out, or not out, but is coming out. First reviews for The Flash is out. It's sitting at 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. I just wanted to read a few reviews and get Tommy's reaction. Have you read any of the reviews for The Flash? I'll take that as a no.
Oh, Mike was muted. No. No, I have not.
All right. This one's from Nick Allen. These are all Rotten Tomatoes. Considering how The Flash makes many of its characters face death and inevitably throughout, The Flash should not... Wow, this guy's grammar is fucking terrible, so we're going to move on from him. To offer the film, this is Miss Frank, we'll say. I cannot pronounce her first name for the life of me. To offer the film any kind of praise is an uneasy task because it stars one of the most controversial figures in Hollywood history. So clearly she just decided she was not going to be able to watch that movie without bringing that up, which I kind of get, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of your job to not do that as a movie critic. Despite a promising start, The Flash is not the multiverse game changer it wants to be seen as. It barely feels like a final draft. Ouch. The Flash is one of its strongest entries and should even, like, dude, this, I'm not kidding. I'm not reading this wrong. The Flash is one of its strongest entries and should even with some flaws. This is from a guy from Forbes. Anyways, the reviews are mixed. They're a little more positive than negative, which I suppose in itself are positive considering all the controversy surrounding the film and the guy involved with it. Are you going to see this film? I want to, man. I got to be honest, though. I don't get the nostalgia kick most people get out of Michael Keaton as Batman.
Probably not, honestly. The film has been dragged through the dirt. I was one who was never into The Flash to begin with. It's just not something that's ever lured me. Never watched the...
Who's that? Who did that?
Okay.
You're not a Flash fan.
Why would I be a Flash fan? I never got into the Arrowverse.
You don't need to be into the Arrowverse to be a Flash fan. You could be a Flash.
What would I be a Flash fan of? The Justice League? Just that one character?
Comics. Animated series.
Yeah, the Justice League animated series is probably the extent of my understanding of the Flash character. And the Flash was not my favorite character in the Justice League, so...
No, to be fair, I'm not a big Flash guy either. I'm far more... to be fair, though, I wasn't a Superman guy either and fell in love with Smallville. Love Smallville TV show. Still not the biggest Superman guy. It's kind of always Batman, Spider-Man. As I got a little older, Punisher. Punisher was way up my list. I wasn't into Daredevil until I seen the Netflix series there, which I thought was very, very well done.
Yeah.
You watched that?
I've seen chunks of it. You didn't like the one movie from some years ago?
Oh, the Ben Affleck John Favreau one? No, 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 I
You know,
didn't.
I've only come to understand that movie is not liked in the past few years. That was awesome when I was growing up.
Oh, so you were a fan of it? And then again,
I
I
mean,
know a lot.
maybe if I went back and watched it now, older, however many years later, I'd feel different. But yeah, that was great. I was a kid, so
I know a lot of people that didn't like Punisher 2004 with Thomas Jane, but for me, it's still one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. So
we talk
yeah.
about movies that kind of left us underwhelmed. Superman Returns. I was a kid when I saw that. Now my understanding is that itself is not a very popular movie, but Superman does a lot of misses, right? So it is what it is.
You know what's funny about that?
What?
I think it's the best Superman movie.
Well,
Oh, I'm in the minority, dude. Like
I don't know if that really says all that much, but there you go.
I'm in the minority, but I just like the whole angle of Clark Kent, having a kid and the way they play it off in the movie. And look, Kevin Spacey is one of the biggest piece of trashes that you will ever meet. But nobody can take away that guy's ability to act. Like he is phenomenal in almost anything he was in, and I thought he did the Lex Luthor role justice. I know why people didn't like that movie because it just felt a lot different than any other Superman movie you've gotten. And that, I mean, arguably, we haven't gotten a Superman titled movie since then. The next Superman movie was a Man of Steel. I guess you could say Batman versus Superman, but I don't really count that. Jerry, what's going on, buddy? Is it the summer of George? He says he likes Keaton, his first live action Batman. Look, I love the Dark Knight trilogy, man. I do. I was stunned. I was as hooked to the Batman as I was because I think once you get that favorite, at least for me, once I get that favorite, it's really, really hard to knock it off. And I still go back and forth to this day, over a year later, the Dark Knight or the Batman, the Dark Knight or the Batman. So I get it, man. I totally get it. I think we had one more topic to get to here, Tommy. And it's Indiana Jones. What to expect? I don't think he's going to be fighting in a Hell in the Cell match, but that is your little preview that Wrestling Talk is right around the corner with our Chair Shot Chatter portion of the show. Dude, you've been starting to dive into the Indiana Jones movie some more. I believe you just said you watched Temple of Doom. I'm sorry. But is your excitement for this movie growing at all? For me, it is because I think James Mangold is just a fan-fucking-tastic director.
I've recently rewatched Raiders and Temple of Doom. I'll go through the others before I see the movie. I'm probably not going to go see it like the day of release or anything crazy like that. I'll probably get it on a cheap day. But yeah, no, I'll try to see this in theaters. It's the end of an era. It's the end of an era that itself has kind of been spaced out across different eras.
Come on,
So,
Harrison Ford's going to be like 90, still kicking, looking like he's 70, and Lucasfilm's going to be like, Mr. Ford, one more time, please.
it has been said that this is going to be the last film.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did say that about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too, and Revenge of the Sith too. So just like Mark Hamill says he's not going to play Luke Skywalker again, but I guarantee you he's in that Dave Filoni movie.
Okay, point taken.
CM Punk is never ever coming back to wrestling ever.
I've seen whispers about Harrison Ford not getting along with his stunt doubles for this movie, which maybe in itself is not a new thing. That is probably not a new thing. But so we have reason to believe that there's going to be some more actiony stuff. It's not just going to be Indiana Jones sits at a coffee table all day. I definitely believe we're going to see some more actiony scenes, but also it wouldn't surprise me if this, as someone who I don't think I've ever seen Crystal Skull, maybe I will soon, but I just don't
Johnny
see
was
us.
on, he would say you're lucky.
Yeah, I just don't see us seeing, the Indiana of old in this upcoming film.
No, and you shouldn't. And I think anybody that goes into Indiana Jones, what the hell is it called? In the Dial of Destiny, I believe. If you're going to see Indy 5 thinking you're getting The Last Crusade or Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, by the way, is the actual title to that first film, a lot of people think it's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark when it's not. But you're just not going to get it. It's like, that's not the way it works. Harrison Ford is not that guy anymore. You're going to get an elderly Indiana Jones. And I'm okay with that. And Boyd Holbrook, who also, by the way, he's in Justified. Got to get that in there here. Justified Revivals happening, a limited series. My boy, Timothy Oliphant. I think it debuts in August. So I'm looking forward to that. But Boyd Holbrook's in that as well. Boyd Holbrook was also one of the main villains in Logan. So that guy's been getting his name out there more and more. The cast looks good. James Mangold's great. Harrison Ford's my favorite actor of all time, right? So like you're gonna have a hard time getting me to say something negative. But if we left, this movie and I'm like, okay, well, this is my 4th or 5th best indie movie, that doesn't mean you didn't enjoy the movie. Not every movie you see is going to be the best. Anyways, Tommy B, we're about to move on to some wrestling chat here. Where can everybody find you at? What do you got going on, man?
I'm going to bed. Other than that, just, taking it easy, doing my own fandom thing here and there, continuing a review of the Clone Wars and going on to the other animated stuff before Ahsoka drops this summer. And it's all good. It's all good. We got a few good flicks coming and going right now in the theaters. So, if you have to pick one, I hope you are able to get out there and, regardless of the film, just have a good experience.
Yeah, I think people need to spend less time hoping for to see the next greatest film ever. And just, if you go, you enjoy yourself, you leave happy, and the popcorn wasn't completely shit, you should be probably happy with your evening. So, but anyways, thanks for doing this, Tommy. We'll see you next week. And we'll move on to some wrestling chat right after this. Joining me now are the host and co-host of the Dark Match Drive podcast. I think the channel is called Dark Match Drive Podcast or Dark Match Drive. They'll let us know here in a second. It is Jer and Kieran. We're here to talk some wrestling, AEW Collision, AEW Forbidden Door, and we have a video game that is, what is it, the 29th, guys? 29th? I think it's
Yep.
20. So we're 23 days away, maybe 22 for those that buy the digital version. Actually, what's the early access? One of you guys got the Elite. Kieran, you have no audio. I see you talking. But
I think it's a day early.
is it a day?
I think so.
Interesting. We'll wait on Kieran's audio here. So, for those of you that are watching live, apologies for no stream going up today. We had no internet for quite some time here, and even now it's not great. I've been watching one bar for most of the stream. Oh, you sound far away.
Far away?
Oh, I heard that. Clear as
It's a bit
day.
better.
I didn't think I was going to come through or not. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Is that good?
You're perfect.
Yes, it's one day early for the online thing. I still don't know if I'm going to get the online or the physical.
Mr. Perfect, Jerry Stubbs.
All right, so why don't we start with the video game? AEW Fight Forever, June 29th, June 28th for early access, although you got to watch with the digital stuff. Sometimes the digital stuff, drops a little early, a day or two early. Just those things happen. So, which would mean potentially anybody who has the early access might get it even earlier. So sometime that week, you will get a new AEW game. I don't think we had a chance to talk about this the last time you fellas were on, but I seen the clip, and it made me feel like, and I'm okay with this feeling. I know there's people, like I see on Twitter every day, people are taking screenshots from WWE 2K, whatever they're on.
23, I think.
And comparing it to AEW, and it's not fair at all. But I seen this clip of it's Statlander against Darby Allin, and Statlander steals the skateboard and rides it up the ramp, and then does this like weird, friggin' trick above his head, and then I think the extended clip shows her smoke him with the skateboard, and like to me that feels like if the three of us went out to whatever video game arcade, popped our quarter in, or $5 nowadays, and just played a wrestling arcade game. And I got to tell you, I'm completely okay with that. Where do you guys stand with that?
For me, it's exactly what you're expecting. Like that's what they wanted. It's being compared system wise to the No Mercy 64 game, Nintendo 64 games. But it also has a bit of like the early SmackDown games in it, where like I remember there was a SmackDown game where you could take a grocery cart and like run around with it like all goofy, and then you could like press a button and you just smack someone with the grocery cart. And it totally didn't look real. It didn't look like how a person in real life would use a grocery cart. You didn't have to line it up perfectly. You could run around like a madman with it, or you could drive a forklift into a person. Like, it was all about having fun, and those were the fun wrestling games. I mean, some people still really enjoy the 2K wrestling games. I haven't bought one since 2013. And yeah, like it's because 2013 was the same as 14, 15, 16, 17. They just slowly get a little bit better, and the play mechanics were always the same. You weren't ever learning something new. You weren't ever playing something new. It was the same old show, which oddly enough is kind of WWE's problem altogether most of the time, if you ask some people. But yeah, comparing the graphics makes no sense because they're going for a like over the top sort of like goofy looking character. The characters are going to look stronger and bigger. Like Jungle Boy is going to have muscles where normally he looks flat as a friggin' washboard. It's just, that's not what they're going for. So if you're like, hey, oh man, that doesn't look real. It doesn't look realistic. This guy doesn't look, well, they didn't 3D scan everyone and everything. They created the characters like back in the old days, went over the top of their gimmicks. You know, their sunglasses are probably going to be way too big for their face. Their elbow pads and things like that are going to be puffier looking than normal. It's supposed to be fun. It's just supposed to be a fun game. So
I don't know what you're talking about those grocery carts not being realistic. I hit people at Walmart with them all the time.
Yeah, but that's because you were blind.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I saw people complaining about, what was it? Oh, so there was an Owen Hart post today that I saw. And they showed the scan of Owen for the game, which is obviously an older New Japan render for his character because they don't have the rights for his WWE character and so on. And somebody compared it with a 2K23 community creation of a WWE Owen Hart, which looked great. I mean, I think the creation stuff on the WWE games are fantastic. But like, I think there's a section of the fan base that is missing the point of, like, okay, the renders aren't going to be perfect. I mean, for Owen in 91 in New Japan, it looks pretty good. But it's not going to be this crisp, perfect render of the character because that's not the point of the game almost. You know who you're playing with, obviously. And they look good, but it is a very arcade kind of overblown, type of game. And I think a lot of people kind of miss the point on that because, to be fair, we've been very conditioned the last, 10, 15 years that video games are hyper realistic and, focus on simulation. And now for this to come out, it's like, whoa, what is this? This isn't realistic at all. And it kind of reminded me of the Chikara video game that came out on Steam probably in 2017. That was kind of a call back to those old In Your House games where the Undertaker would pull out the tombstone and hit the guy, and Owen Hart would hit you with a deck of cards or something like that. And I think the market is kind of missing a fun multiplayer game where you can invite, and I don't give a damn if we're 15 or 35. We're still going to play this video game with our friends. And, it's been missing from the market for long enough that I think there's a craving. And there's also the nostalgia factor. A video game of this caliber hasn't truly existed since the No Mercy WCW NWO Revenge days. And so this is filling that nostalgic void, and I think they nailed it. I mean, granted, I haven't played it yet, but from everything I've seen and heard, I think they were very open about, hey, we want this feel for the video game. We want to go back to these days of this style of video game, and I really hope that they did it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that's comparing any of the character models in this game to anything that WWE is doing on their platforms is just ridiculous. And Jared, I think you said it best. You're missing the boat completely if that's the comparable.
Yep.
You're using. Like it's comparing an NHL team to an OHL team. It's not fair. I guarantee you the money that gets pumped into those WWE titles is 7, 8, 9 times more than the money that was pumped into AEW Fight Forever. But that doesn't mean that the next AEW game can't lend itself to more of that style or anything else for that matter. But I'm looking forward to it. I am. I think it looks good. I thought Owen looked good too, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I'm going to ask you guys to maybe you guys are just super positive about all of it, but is there anything that concerns you at all about the game?
I know that there was released different match types that there was, and it doesn't seem like it's a lot. It seems like they kind of went with the things that were in those Nintendo 64 games. So, if people are expecting you can do a dog collar match or something like that, since one of the most well-known AEW wrestling matches was a dog collar match. Actually, 2 good dog collar matches, if I can remember. That's not what they've come up with yet. And apparently they're going to be able to add match types, like they can add DLC wrestlers. They made the game apparently so that they could do that, or at least that's what Mr. Evil Uno would have us believe. So yeah, I'd say that was kind of disappointing. I know that a lot of people are upset about certain characters that aren't in the game. A friend of mine is upset that Angelico is not in it, and I mean, I get that he doesn't make the cut for everybody, but everybody has their own favorite wrestlers. And
I was not a name I was expecting you to say.
No, I mean there are a bunch of ones that are already brought up. And obviously a bunch of them are the first DLC. So if you're not interested in DLC, you're going to miss out on Hook, Danhausen, FTR, and the Bunny, I believe.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Oh, and Keith Lee. So less people upset about that last one.
Yeah.
Those are the first DLC characters, and you get Matt Hardy for pre-ordering. And I believe the pre-order is going to be on both the physical copy and the online copy, which I'm going to have to phone and find out if it's for sure. But that's what I've been told. So yeah, I mean, complaints I think are that maybe they're going too easy on the match types and how intricate the game is, and that some of your characters either aren't going to come or they're going to cost you.
One of the complaints that I saw come up recently with all these, with footage and everything coming out of the game, was that some people aren't a fan of certain mini games in the game. I don't know if it's an overabundance of them or just certain types of them not being a fan of them. But yeah, that's one of the complaints that I have seen about the game. I mean, I have not really looked into that aspect of the game, so I couldn't tell you much about it. But I guess it's kind of like Mario Party in a way. I guess I like that's what my mind goes to when I think mini games. Right?
Yeah.
There were these old, like back when 2K used to make NHL games. Their NHL games for like Xbox and PlayStation would have like party mode. And you'd have all these little mini games you could play, and you were only like one player on it, and you play with your friends. And I kind of find it a lot like that, or a Mario Party, or Super Smash, or something like that. I got to be honest, the mini games aspect of the game is one of the things I'm most excited for. That being said, I have not gone out of my way to read specifically which each mini game is. I know there's one where they're basically playing baseball and hammering baseballs out of is it like a football stadium or something like that?
It should be.
Yeah, I think they're in the Jaguars. Yeah, I think they're in the Jaguar Stadium. I did see that picture.
So, Justin Smith said the FTR one is still weird to me, and I'm with you, man. So I'm going to reserve judgment because I don't know if the first DLC is paid or not. I know sometimes
it is.
Oh, is it for sure?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm like 95% on that.
Well, if Kieran's right about that, I'm going to stay on my stance of that's absolute horse shit. And it's not just them, it's the fucking gaming industry and the way things have been going for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, really. Like, to me, there's no reason to have FTR to be paid for, or Danhausen, or Hook. Have different attires, pay for different costumes, pay for legends even. You want to do paid content? Pay for Owen Hart and have every penny that comes in for Owen Hart go to the Owen Hart Foundation. Do something like that. It just feels so fucking microtransaction based that rubs me the wrong way. I'll get past it, and I want FTR, but I can't see myself paying for additional content past that one. That being said, I do have one bone to pick, and I think it's going to be something a lot of people pick with, and it's not going to ruin the game for me, but it does take away one of my favorite elements. I could not believe when I read there are not full entrances. I was like, people go nuts for wrestling video game entrances. Not kidding. It's one of the most popular aspects of wrestling games. And you're only going to give people a third of an entrance, basically. That's not going to go over well. Although it does kind of remind me of, there was this, is it WWF Superstars, or there's this arcade game that used to be in this downtown Oshawa, and then there was one at the laundromat too.
The old Superstars game from like the early 90s.
Intro with them in front of the curtain, and boom, you were in the room.
Yep.
So I kind of wonder if it's going to be a little like that.
I mean, the earlier SmackDown games were like that. I mean, one of the SmackDown games actually just played their video behind the character.
Yeah,
you could not see where they were in time and space, but you could see their video playing behind them while they walked out, and big blocky characters
and
would
run
out.
Different camera angles too.
Do one taunt, but it's also, I mean, if you remember the N64 games, they were kind of like characters just walked out, did their taunt, then you would show them walking to the ring, but the motion of them walking to the ring was never anything special. And then they got in the middle of the ring, and then they did their taunt in just as is animated when you do your taunt in the game. It wasn't anything special. They're really digging into that keeping the N64 games things. They're also doing things like there's not commentary in the game, which I love, but other people are not upset about, or are upset about. The reason why I don't care about the commentary is because after about a week, you're like, I've heard every comment they could possibly say. I don't want to hear it. I'd much rather play N64 and have that neat surfer music in the background and Revenge. The entrances, I think, like, if people are upset about them, that's fine, but I think they'll get over it relatively quickly. I think the playing experience, they're not going to be like, oh, well, I'm pissed off about this entrance thing. I think that's kind of like before the game, they might be like, well, that's stupid. But when you're playing the game, I don't think it's going to matter. The DLC content is definitely a big thing. I don't think people will be as upset about that because gamers are used to this. It's insane. I hated it too. When they first started doing DLC content, and I was like, wait, I'm not getting the full game on what I bought. Like, how is that even possible? They're making me pay extra money for the rest of the game. I don't have as much of a problem with this. One, I'm super biased because I'm going to pay a lot of money for this game anyways. I'm just really excited about the game. Honestly, I'm stoked. So, I mean, they could be like, you got to pay an extra $20. You got to pay an extra $10 for different rings. You got to pay an extra...
Random question off. I don't know the answer to this. I feel like I might have seen it somewhere. Is the Stadium Stampede match in the game?
I don't believe so.
I wasn't sure if it would be or not, because like if you're hitting baseballs out of the Jaguar Stadium, I almost think that if it's not in the game, it might be in the game at some point. If you had to go your way and build that model, or a partial model anyway.
Yeah, here's my
little end to what I was saying, though. I want to make sure I get the rest of this in. The reason why I'm not upset about the download content is because it's not extra parts of the game; it's extra characters, and these like the extra characters might be characters you love. You might have to create them in a Create a Wrestler, which they do have. We don't know how great it is. We don't really have very much about the whole Create a Wrestler altogether yet, but you can create them if you want. And most wrestling games, when I bought them, came out, and by the time they came out, there was wrestlers that you were like, God damn, I got to wait for next year's game for the wrestlers that are popular now because they were scanned over a year ago, or, you know, you'd be like, such and such a character has long hair and wears jeans now. They don't do that. That's not their gimmick anymore. This way you'll get characters in their current form when you buy them. You'll get them. Things will be updated. And like I said, the game isn't, it's still in full mode. You're still getting the full game. You're just paying for extra characters. And that is going to be a part of this game because they have said that they're not releasing another Fight Forever next year. They're not going to release another Fight Forever in a couple years.
No, it's going to be a few years for sure.
It's going to be a few years. So they're, instead of getting AEW 23, AEW 24, AEW 25, you're just going to download characters. If Goldberg signs tomorrow, then you're going to get Goldberg in, 2 months. Not that I'm up with that idea, but first person that comes to mind. Or Kota Ibushi. If he ends up joining, you're going to be able to download him at some point for a price. And it is what it is. It's not too bothersome, but I do understand people who are really big fans of FTR or Hook or Danhausen. I mean, all of those wrestlers are ones that I would be interested in playing. But I'll pay the price. I'm not too upset about it.
This game is going to have to do well. AEW is going to have to continue to do well as well because there's no point in them making another game unless they can put significant capital, like much more than they did for Fight Forever, into the next game, or else they might as well just do as you're saying. If they can release new match types and new characters, which they're going to charge you for, and they will charge you for those match types as well, more than likely. It wouldn't be surprised if they start packaging some stuff together either. But unless they can present something that is just at a way higher level than this already is, there won't be a new game. Like, it'll come as long as the company's doing well, but it's going to be a bit.
They are packaged together.
Yeah,
already.
Pardon?
They are packaged together already. So, like, with the FTR pack, you get FTR and 2 new mini games and something else. There's 3 things in every one.
Oh, so you can't individually buy them if you wanted to.
Yeah, and Hook and Danhausen are together. It's called like the very evil, very smart, or sort of, I don't know. It specifically has the like a funny title for the pack, and then it comes with 2 new mini games and something else as well. I forget what. Sorry, I know I'm talking too much, but I have this information. So it comes out in packs of a couple wrestlers, couple mini games, and something added.
I don't know if I like that either, if I'm being honest. So, Justin says, hopefully it's not another Impact game, to which I say, I didn't know they had one. Like, legitimately.
They did. It was fun.
Was it? What was it for? How long ago is this?
I liked that Impact game.
2009, maybe?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's been a while, but no, it was okay. You had the 6-sided ring, so that was fun.
Oh,
it had.
Was it like TNA? Was it? I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It had its biggest claim to fame was it created the Suicide character.
Yes.
So. So there was a character who won the X Division title,
the blue and red guy, right?
Yeah, I believe it was Christopher Daniels at one point. It was someone else.
Yeah, TJP. Well. I want to say maybe Kazarian was under the hood too. There was a couple guys.
The story mode was you playing as this character, Suicide, and the story was okay for a game that wasn't, it was a first try at something. And you played as him, and then after the game, he became an actual wrestler. So it was kind of neat that ended up happening. And I believe he had the X Division title once or twice, and was a pretty decent part of the show.
And he could go 1-on-1 with Homicide.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, Genocide didn't do a run-in.
Pretty mind blown by that. I didn't know that was an actual thing, but yeah, AEW Fight Forever, June the 29th, or maybe the 28th, or even the 27th, sometime that week. Check it out. So there's Forbidden Door and there's Collision. I feel like we have to talk about Collision first because it might set up some Forbidden Door stuff. So let's start with Collision. June 17th. If you're Canadian, you still don't know how you're seeing this thing, which is just a disaster, if you ask me. I want to talk a little bit about what's getting a lot of play online here. I don't know if you guys have followed. I'm sure Jer has, but everybody's going on about ticket sales, specifically for Canada. You guys are, I mean, we're all local to one another.
Yep.
I don't know what the fuck they were thinking on doing, hey, let's do Forbidden Door. Let's do Scotiabank Arena again for another event. And then let's drive 45 minutes to Cops Coliseum and do another event. It's oversaturation at its finest. Cops Coliseum is a fucking dump. Johnny and I can vouch for that one. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to Hamilton to see AEW. I would sooner go to Toronto, or I believe both of you gentlemen are going to Forbidden Door. So let me ask you this. I don't even know if you guys knew this. We'll see if we're dropping new info here or not. But what are you going to pay for? Forbidden Door or AEW in Hamilton, where the ticket prices are almost identical?
I don't understand it, to be honest. Like, you're doing TV, and no, you can't be charging the same amount. Especially like for Forbidden Door, you're paying for a 4-hour pay-per-view quality show. That's to be expected. Okay, ticket prices are relatively high. That's fine. You get what you pay for. But the second they announced TV the night before, it's like, okay, well, if somebody, let's say somebody dropped $300 on an AEW Forbidden Door ticket. Would you not want them to come to TV the night before for, let's say, $100?
You know what's funny is the Hamilton tickets are more than the Chicago tickets for AEW Collision. Like, I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, if these guys sign $1 billion friggin' TV deal, attendance is one of the least things they're going to be worried about because it'll be the thing bringing in the least revenue between the two. But still, it looks pretty bad at the moment when you're set up for 10 or 11,000 at Scotiabank Arena for Collision and you've sold 1,400 tickets. It looks very, very bad. That's 10%, by the way, for anybody who struggles with math. It's not a good look. And honestly, I know people are going, well, Punk's not a draw, or Punk and the Bucks screwed this all up with what they got into, or the Elite this and Punk and Ace Steel that. And it's like, for me, it's oversaturation. It's of the gross, like, guys, the most expensive ticket to go see AEW in Hamilton, north of $300. Like, am I going to see a Leaf playoff game? Are you kidding me? That's insane.
For the most expensive ticket?
North of $300.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. But
for a TV show in Hamilton,
that's WWE charges more than that for front row.
I think the most expensive ticket for Collision in Chicago, I think, was less than $200. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, so before the resale market jacked everything up, Forbidden Door floor seats were $200.
See, that's insane.
That's pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they're going to a smaller venue. We need to charge more for the tickets, but
I will say this. AEW is a new to traveling on the road like this company. They don't have the experience WWE does, and they're not going to do it they're not going to make the same amount of money as WWE. Even if they sell the right amount of tickets, they don't have that. Like they don't know how to travel properly. They don't know. They're probably going to be doing some of it still the indie style, where they're like, hey, everybody show up to the building for this time or whatever. WWE is like, show up for this time or you're not on the show and you'll lose money, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, this is exactly, we have travel agents, we have these people, we have that. They're probably very organized because they've been doing road shows for a long time. Whereas AEW is just starting now to do house shows, which people are complaining about already because their house shows don't have top talent on them quite often. And their TV shows for a long time were, especially during COVID, were almost always in Jacksonville. They hit only a couple of towns. Obviously, they never came to Canada until just recently. They're expanding and testing a lot of things out. So if they don't do it properly, they don't have the experience. And they probably are. I'm sure Tony Khan just throws money at problems all the time. There's probably like, we forgot to do this. It's going to cost us an extra this much. And he's like, cool. Like, I have that money. So it is a problem, and there is going to be lots of kinks to be worked out. The idea of being like, oh, well, we're in Canada, let's do 4 shows in the same, this amount, like this immediate area is insane. But they're like, this is where we are. We'll do a show there. We got to plan TV. We didn't even know if this was going to happen. Like, how quickly did this Collision show come together? Like,
within the past 2 months.
It's crazy that they were like that this whole thing happened. And, a company gave them a lot of money and said, hey, can you guys do a second show? They suggested it. Yeah. The company, like, do a second show. And they were like, oh yeah, we'll get that right. We'll get that right together. Where's like, can we do this? And obviously, yeah, it is a problem. It is a problem that AEW is not able to plan these things out with the experience that they have to. And it does come a lot from leadership, which is TK. To me, he's a lovable guy, but it's true. He needs to surround himself with a lot more people to help him out.
Honestly, they should have went to Kitchener. They should have went to Kitchener over Hamilton. It's further away. Less people are bound to drive in from Kitchener area to Toronto. The Kitchener Rangers have an arena there that is literally the same size as Cops Coliseum.
Yep.
But like, I'm not trying to cut you off short here, Kieran. I agree with everything you're saying. But I mean, Jared, I thought hit the nail on the head. $200 for Forbidden Door front floor seats, $300 for AEW Collision. I'm a huge Punk guy, but what do you think is going to be the better event? Like, let's be real here.
Forbidden Door is going to be a better wrestling event for sure. I'm not really that. I don't know. That doesn't really set me off the same way. Because I've tried to get floor seats for a lot of wrestling shows. It's always way out of my price range. Like, I'm not spending more than $120 or $130. And every time I look them up, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near the floor. And I know that WWE sells them for around that amount. So I'm surprised that Forbidden Door tickets are not that much. But I'm not.
I mean,
at all
the resale
surprised.
Prices are, but that's a whole nother.
I'm not at all surprised that Collision tickets are that much, though. You know what
Also,
I mean? Like,
if you don't market locally, like, you're not helping yourself. And guess what? They're not. Like, there's almost virtually no marketing for AEW Collision. There's still not at least an official TV deal. I think everybody suspects it'll be TSN in some way, shape, or form.
That happened the same with the last 2 shows too, though. We didn't know
Rampage
when we
never properly got on cable, which they can't after that.
I was waiting to see when Dynamite was going to be on TV 2 weeks before the show debuted. I was like constantly looking.
They did the press release. I remember that, thinking like, hey, finally, we're actually going to get it up here. And,
actually
Cutting
had
it
a,
close.
We are talking about Canada here, though, so we're probably not their favorite. We're probably not their priority. I mean,
TSN isn't really on the ball for anything these days, unless
other
it's
than
the
curling,
US
You know
Open.
they're
what?
really good at curling.
they
They're
should be a
fantastic at
priority.
curling.
They should be a priority when 5 of the first 6 are in Canada? Owen Hart tournament too.
Yeah, because they're going all the way across, so they've probably got like 6 or 7 shows booked for that.
I had an exchange on Twitter today with Matt Kuhn, who was the host of Dax's podcast when it was around, and even he's like, "Yeah, no, they're not marketing up there. Like, you got to do something, or if you don't switch the prices, if you don't lower the prices, and if you don't market the same way a lot of concerts market when they come up here, I don't even want to know what it's going to look like on TV, because there's a big difference between being half full and 10%."
For a lot of people I know, and this is only anecdotal, so it doesn't really relate to the numbers, but for the people I do know that are going, they're all mulling over whether they should go to Collision or not, because it's like, but I'm gonna go to Forbidden Door already, and it's only does it make sense for me to do? Does it make sense for me to do it? Is like what I'm getting from a lot of people, and like I know I'm like, I'd love to take my son to Collision and then go back the next day and go to watch wrestling for myself, and it's like, I don't know how ticket sales are going to go in the end there. I don't know if they're going to be bought a lot. Maybe there'll be a promotion where we can buy a burger and get 4 tickets.
Right, that ended up being fake. Thank God for that.
Fake, yeah.
I think it's just registering to me now that barring disaster, I could buy tickets to an event in Toronto and see CM Punk. I'm not paying Hamilton prices. That's for actually no. I guess Toronto's Dynamite, right? So that's probably not Punk then. So does it go?
Toronto is Collision.
So where's Hamilton's Dynamite?
Because Collision's live the Saturday night, and then Forbidden Door. So Dynamite is probably Hamilton the following Wednesday.
Because the Wednesday's Chicago as well at a different arena, right?
That's
the first Wednesday, the 21st, the 17th.
I think. So that's the week before. I think it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if I were
17th.
them,
yeah. Okay.
If the arena is available, I would switch the Toronto show to. You guys went to see it, I think, to Rico.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it's called. Go back there. It's the day before. I get it. Different setup. You telling me these guys don't have 2 rings with Tony Khan's money?
Oh yeah.
You use a partial stage the day before or something. God, I hope the Collision stage is different anyways. Don't do the same thing.
What would be great? If they decided that if you had Forbidden Door tickets, you could go to the show the day earlier.
They might have to if they don't change venues. So.
I will definitely go there to be a seat filler. If I paid $100 for my Forbidden Door ticket, so I don't see why it
can even be something like, hey, if you bought a ticket to Forbidden Door, here is a code. If you can prove it, here's a code to get 50% off the ticket for AEW Collision. They're gonna have to start looking at things that way, because I think they've sold just over 1,000 tickets for the Toronto show in Scotiabank Arena. I forget what WrestleTickets last said. I know. By the way, if you don't follow WrestleTix on Twitter, great follow in terms of keeping up with ticket information.
I love that follow on Twitter. He's great.
Man, those numbers would drive me nuts, though, trying to keep everything sorted.
Right.
I'm not a Patreon member of theirs, but apparently they have a really badass Patreon program, too. So I don't really know what that would consist of. By the way, there are 14 tickets available for Forbidden Door. That's it. Although it's expected they will probably add a standing section, which is the same standing section that's at Leaf Games, and they can probably put another 200 people in there if they choose. So, so that show's selling well. I'm trying to find the.
Yeah, you asked so many questions there that I am now like, how many tickets sold? When's the show? When's it?
I don't like Ticketmaster doesn't give you enough information, in my opinion.
So the resale market for Collision has floor seats for $148 each, and so does Forbidden Door.
Oh.
But like not ringside, like second section back.
Okay, so the really expensive tickets were the first row,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Like it's
Yeah, I think first row was going for like 600 or something based on like initial sales rather than
I can see
resales.
that. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so
It would
damn,
be nice
that's
if they
tough.
sold a lot of tickets, but
I agree. Like, but you can't price yourself out of the market. You know, like I'm sorry, but you're not the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, and you can't.
exactly, you got championships.
Exactly, right?
Hey, at this point, as far as I'm concerned, I have a love-hate relationship with that fucking team. So,
Tony Khan is much more likable than Harold Ballard.
yes, depending on who you ask. Jim Cornette might not think so. Which, by the way, is Terrence living with Jim Cornette? I seen Terrence's comment earlier, and I was like, oh wow, it sounds like Jim Cornette.
Yeah, he likes getting spanked by the tennis racket, I hear.
Oh God. Were those prices in American?
That's got to be resale. Like,
resale, yeah.
Just ridiculous. I hate Ticketmaster so much. And that's another issue with this too. Like, you'd think, like it's less AEW doing this and more, hey, let's tack on an extra $20 fee here, and you click this button, that'll add another $3. Like, it's so dumb.
We could go over the Ticketmaster thing forever. I've been on radio shows. There's a little rant about it on every single music radio station I know. They're constantly talking about how bands are trying to oppose this, but Ticketmaster's like the fucking mafia. Like,
they added like
Ticketmaster
$15 to my Sepultura ticket on Friday.
So after fees, Justin's saying it's $600 to sit for front row for Collision.
Jeez.
But as a resale, correct?
No, not as a resale.
Oh,
Canadian, yeah.
Collision ain't worth that much.
No, sorry, I love Punk.
That'd be interesting.
I'll sit at home and watch the Best Friends wrestle.
Speaking of AEW Collision, Tony Khan has another announcement. This is getting a little old. What do you guys think the main event is? Because obviously we've heard at one point in time, people thought Punk Jericho. People thought Punk Samoa Joe. Now there's been Punk wants to work with Jay White rumors, which, by the way, I like the idea of that. Whether it's together in the same stable or against one another. I've been fantasy booking this idea. Punk comes out on Collision, turns on FTR, beats the shit out of FTR, and boom, there's your heel Punk. And just have them work together for a bit.
I mean, Bullet Club has been adding a significant amount of American guys in the past week, so wouldn't be surprising on that end.
Bullet Club Gold needs more people. It can't just be two people running around being like, we're Bullet Club Gold. The whole stable doesn't work if they're not ganging up on people.
Yeah.
I'd never seen Robinson until he got into AEW. Like, none of his stuff ever. I find that dude wildly entertaining. Like, pardon the pun, but I'm hooked on him. So
he's so good.
Yeah, I really, really dig what he does. And but yeah, predictions, guys. Main event. What's it going to be? If you're laying down some money to win something, what's the main event going to be announced as tomorrow?
I think it's fair. I think it's definitely Punk and Joe, because it's a program that you can have almost no booking for, and it's already set up. It's ROH guys. They fought before. It doesn't need a build up, and it's also a match that you could just sell and people be like, cool, I'll watch that. But like I said before, I think Joe is not really all that. Like, they're not going to build up a big program with Samoa Joe. He's beneath Punk at this point in his career. He can't really wrestle that great anymore. is it's an easy headliner that makes sense, doesn't need a program.
Oh yeah,
and then he can move on. I don't think there'll be a program. I think he'll fight him, and then he'll move on, or there'll be another part of a story like Bullet Club comes out, or
as I say, Punk, Joe, FTR, and Ricky Starks versus 5 Bullet Club guys at Forbidden Door.
They could do something like that, because I figure, I mean, if they're doing something with Punk at Forbidden Door, they're gonna have 8 days to do it, so there's not going to be any build for that. Like, it'll literally probably just be a music video.
You'll see him 3 times. 3 times, essentially. The belief is he's going to be on Dynamite at Wintrust. And then there would be the Collision in Toronto.
I mean, Forbidden Door doesn't even need Punk because it's already sold out and it's already got 2 giant made headliners.
Pay-per-view buys, though. Pay-per-view buys will help.
I think as he's back, they'll put him on, because he was supposed to face Tanahashi last year.
I think he should be in the opener. I wish he would face Kenta in the opener. I think that would be great.
Did you see what I posted on the Facebook page?
No, I did not.
So somebody made a fan
on what Facebook page?
Dark Match Drive, baby.
And what else can they find there?
Oh, you can find all sorts of stuff there. Plenty of posts. I actually just started the Dark Match Drive Instagram earlier today.
Yeah,
so I am getting all over social media right now. It's been a busy day. So a fan posted a edit of what a Kenta CM Punk match picture would look like, and I guess Kenta saw it and retweeted it with the comment of "depends on money." So Kenta's aware. Kenta's been calling Punk out every chance he gets on Twitter. It's hilarious. Any mention of Punk, Kenta's I want him.
I saw that he said when someone posted something about him, he retweeted and said, "I'm available that day."
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
And he's the New Japan Strong champion, I believe, or did he lose it? No, he might have lost it, or did he? I'm not 100% sure.
He's recently had a really good run, regardless. It makes sense for him to go up against the caliber of Punk. I mean, it sucks because a lot of people in North America are like, is that, what is it, Hideo Itami or something like that?
Yeah, that was his.
Whatever it was called. They're like, is it that guy? Because he didn't even make it out of NXT, really. So.
Ooh, okay. So I guess this was just announced yesterday, but Eddie Kingston is challenging Kenta for the New Japan Strong title on July 5th at Korakuen Hall.
I knew that. I saw that one.
That's cool.
Now, can they even so I'd be open to that, but I kind of feel like they're setting up something here with Bullet Club, at least with FTR at the very least. Is there I know technically White and Robinson aren't in New Japan anymore, but can it still be Forbidden Door, and can you still have that match if they're on?
Oh, you could do a 6-man, throw Kenta and Punk in there. Very easily, because Kenta's in Bullet Club.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's my money. It's going to be Punk, FTR, and maybe Starks against 4 members of Bullet Club.
You could very easily do it, because Bullet Club's kind of all over the place
that way too. If he's only going to wrestle 3 or 4 minutes in that match.
Yeah, you don't need to beat Punk. He gets in there, does his stuff,
Bullet Club is in the main event main event scene of 8 different wrestling companies, including all of the big ones.
They're in Impact, they're in AEW, they're in New Japan.
If you count the fact that WWE has the OC, which is the only club, which is the Bullet Club, they're everywhere.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the Elite is technically Bullet Club members.
They're the Elite Bullet Club. They're all the Elite.
Yep.
It's worse than NWO now. There's way more than NWO. There's way more than NWO and the Wolfpack and the Hogans and the Latino World Order.
I mean, Adam Cole's still technically a Bullet Club member. I don't think they kicked him out.
So
I thought they killed him.
What's MJF do at Forbidden Door, if anything? Because there still is the possibility this dude's hurt.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I mean, you could put him in there with like a mid-card New Japan guy that nobody's expects to beat MJF and just go out there and have like, a 15-minute match. I mean, you could put him in there with Naito and it would be interesting. But yeah, screw it. Naito can put him over. Why not? That'd be fun.
He should be on the show because he recently, I believe, not even on Twitter, I think he, in video somewhere, in some sort of press conference or something, basically said that, like, everyone in Japan's a jabroni. So, like...
He did say that about the New Japan guys.
Japanese
right?
wrestling is nothing. Like, they're like, those guys are beneath me. So,
yep.
I'm assuming he will face someone, and it might be someone below him so that he can get an easy victory. It might be someone who has recently not been in the mainstream, but has had a title run or something like that. So we can be like, oh yeah, this guy was like a New Japan champion, and I friggin' kicked his ass in 10 minutes or something.
Naito's perfect for that because he just wrestled an 8-man second match on the card at Dominion the other night, and he's a former world champion. And
yeah, that's the kind of person I expect. And I think, yeah, it'll be earlier on the card, and he can be like, I'm going home now. Like, this whole card shit, whatever. Like, it's really easy to get MJF's character over without him having to fight Okada. Obviously, he's not fighting Okada, but
he can just wear a Boston Bruins jersey.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he does.
A promo on how terrible the Leafs are and leave.
Yeah.
Well, the Miz did.
I'd like to see him fight. It'd be unfortunate if he doesn't. If he doesn't because of injury, then I get it. But I forget who I was listening to, but they were talking about how, hey, you got a real issue on your hands here in terms of who can challenge MJF in terms of not busy. People not being busy with something else. And one person threw out the idea of, what if the main event for Collision is Punk versus MJF? And MJF wins, obviously, because Punk's not going over. And then Punk technically got the exact same thing the Elite got when they came back. A shot. Now, maybe Joe costs Punk. Maybe MJF just cheats. I don't know. Regardless, sorry, I meant to bring that up earlier. I hope MJF's on the show. I mean, the show's better if MJF's on it.
For sure, especially in the build.
New Japan to even suggest someone though, so we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. I did find it interesting that we're getting Ospreay versus Omega when I know people had thought that maybe that might be a main event for All In. I would say doing that event at Forbidden Door basically rules that out as your main event in All In, because I just don't see the payoff of doing it 3 times in the same bloody year. It does make me kind of wonder, okay, so what's Omega doing at All In? It could be Blackpool Combat Club stuff, but that's still 2.5 months away. Any thoughts on that, fellas? I thought they were saving that one. I really did.
I thought they were saving that too. I was kind of like, when Ospreay won the tournament, I was like, okay, they're actually doing this at Forbidden Door. And then he cut the promo where Ospreay said he's gonna challenge all of Canada. Basically, he did a backstage promo after the New Japan show where he basically called Don Callis an asshole, Chris Jericho an asshole, Bret Hart an asshole, all of Canada. It was great. And so yeah, he's coming to Canada and it'll be a insane match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Kieran?
I didn't think it had to be Omega Ospreay at All In. I think Ospreay will definitely be there. I think they will put over all the UK talent will all be there, all in prominent roles. Like, I still think Pac will be way over there. That
Ospreay Pac would be good, and just in terms of a wrestling match.
Oh, 100%. That guy's so damn good, and we don't see him enough. But I think, I mean, they could do something like that. But I think with the people in the UK, if you know people from the UK, like, they're very proud of their people. They're very proud of their wrestlers. They're going to want to see that. I don't think that I think they would rather see Pac go for the championship than Punk or Orange Cassidy or whoever, like anyone in the company. I think they would rather see an English boy go and do that regardless. So I think that guys like Pac will get pushed up the card. I don't think that they need to have like a marquee matchup like Omega versus Ospreay. I think they're good with having those guys on the card, but I don't think that they're looking at it that way. I think that they're gonna, they got Hayter and they got Tony Storm, and there's so many people that they could put there. I'm sure that they'll find a way to get Zack Sabre Jr. on the card.
Yeah, he's going to win the world title for New Japan and Rev Pro and AEW, and it'll be great.
Leads me to our last question of this show. These guys had no prep on this one, but I can't help but preview it because it's on Dynamite tomorrow. Orange Cassidy versus Swerve Strickland. Who do you guys got? Because I think the title's changing hands.
I hope so. I don't think so.
We thought the title was going to change hands in the Battle Royal.
I thought it was going to change to the Battle Royal, but I
really like
hope
Swerve,
so.
By the way, like
Swerve is amazing. He's fantastic.
So
he should have way more time. He's the type of guy who's going to benefit from this brand split and having more people get TV time. It's going to be guys like Swerve because everybody knows it. The fans know it. Tony Khan knows it. Everybody who works in that building knows that he's awesome. He looks great on camera. He is his part whenever he's on TV. He speaks. He wrestles amazing. He's got his own style. He's hip to what the kids are cool with, like long chains and cool stuff like that.
Got his grills in.
Yeah, there you go. He's cool in that Fortnite type of way. But I don't think they're going to put it on. My gut instinct is that they're not going to do it, even though I want them to do it.
Interesting. I don't know. I could see him being the guy to do it.
I could see it too. Like, I think he's over enough, and it's not going to feel like Orange Cassidy is losing to a guy lesser than him. Like some schlub on Rampage. I also
kind of feel like the end of the Battle Royal set this up a bit.
Exactly, right? Like their chemistry at the end of the Battle Royal was just phenomenal, and you're like, I want more of this, and sure enough, we're getting it. And I think, like, if not Swerve, who would it be? Like, I don't think and I think the title would elevate Strickland. Not that he's not over, but it would give him a purpose on TV every week rather than feuding the endless feud with Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee.
It'd be nice to actually see the title a little more. Don't get me wrong, I like Orange Cassidy, but that's a beautiful belt they have. Like,
it really is,
and we never get to see it almost. So let's see that belt a little more. Last question actually goes to Justice Smith. Thanks for participating in the chat tonight, man, and everybody else that's been around. Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné for Forbidden Door. I don't know if she'll be healthy in time for that.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, like, they changed the finish of the Mercedes Willow Nightingale match because Mercedes, broke her ankle, foot, or did something to it that was bad enough that Mercedes was, off the top to the floor. And I guess she hit the power bomb on Mercedes once, and Mercedes could barely kick out. And then Mercedes called the audible and said, "Do it again," and told the ref, "This is it."
Yeah.
And I mean, I have not heard anything really. I haven't even heard a confirmation on what the injury is, just that it's, lower leg.
I heard that it was broken foot, which is better news than broken ankle.
So, I mean, ideally, sure, because they had big plans for Mercedes winning that title and kind of helping New Japan as a brand going forward, because she had dropped the IWGP Women's title, and that's not necessarily exclusive to Stardom now, but they're doing their own thing, and we're probably not going to see it on too many New Japan shows. I mean, it wasn't on Dominion, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, they do have plans for Mercedes when she's healthy going forward with New Japan, with AEW, she's going to be a focal point. Just this hiccup happened, and we don't know where we're ending up with it.
Yeah, I really thought that at the end of the day we were going to see her just end up with AEW eventually. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. That is going to do it for our show tonight, though. Kieran, you've been hosting the Dark Match Drive podcast. Why don't you tell people about it and where they can find the podcast, and Jer, where they can find the group and the drive and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can go to the Dark Match Drive. We have a YouTube channel that has our videos on it, but the best way to reach all of our Dark Match Drive content is to join the Facebook group, and now apparently the Instagram. The Facebook group is a lot where it's like our central hub, but we also have Discord where we run lots of fun things. We comment on pay-per-views while they're happening. Sometimes we run some old content. We get to do watch parties of things that happened many, many, many years ago. The other day, I said, you know what? There's no pay-per-view this weekend. We'll make one. And we made a list of fun things to watch. Just a fun community altogether. If you join the Facebook page, we got all the news that you need. We got all the funny memes and things like that. And it's a great community of people who love wrestling. And not a lot of the crazy, whiny, bitchy stuff that you get with some of the larger wrestling groups that you have currently. So, I know if you're into any wrestling groups that have more than 10,000 people in them, you're probably just going there to bitch about people who like WWE or people who like AEW or whatever. So it's a fun group. It's a great wrestling group. It's good fun. It's a decent piece of social media along the terrible dregs of social media that are out there. So we'd appreciate it if you came and followed and watched our content and enjoyed wrestling.
Yes, I mean, he summed it up pretty perfectly. I guess all that's left is the Google Drive itself. I have a Google Drive with 5 terabytes of wrestling content, plenty of old content if that's your thing. I got magazine scans, Memphis, Mid-South, Houston, World Class. Plenty of stuff. You want some All Japan stuff that's not currently available anywhere. I'm your guy. $10 a month. 5 terabytes. You get lost in the content. It's that much. We got the Discord, we got the Instagram that I just started up. I just posted a video of Chicago promoter Bob Luce talking about Freebird Buddy Roberts Wrestling School from like 1988. It's tremendous. So go check that out. Come join the community. It's pro wrestling all the time.
The Facebook group's link is in the description of our video, so just click on it down there. It'll take you right to the group, and you're all set. You can check out a bunch of stuff coming up on the channel here and what we got at our other various channels. There was some pretty big news that came out just the other day. Game of Thrones was supposed to, in fact, end with 2 theatrical films in the Benioff and Weiss and HBO drama. Got very real behind the scenes, and that toxic fandom stuff Kieran was just talking about, that's definitely going on right now with a lot of that stuff, and maybe rightfully so in this regard. But check us out there, The Legacy of Westeros. Subscribe to keep up to date with all the content we got coming out there, and just everything we got here at Fandom Empire. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we're looking forward to it. Dynamite's tomorrow. I think that's it. Flash is coming out soon. Spider-Verse is out. Indie's coming out soon. Lots of good stuff coming. We'll see you next time. Good night.